Come on. Come on. Oh, come on. Oh, bother. Oh, hi. Sorry, I was just playing a game of patience. I know, ironic, isn't it? Hey ho, such is life. Today's devotional actually centres on three people whose loss of patience creates a tragedy that threatens to tear a family apart. Now, one character is a lady named Hagar, a young Egyptian woman who was slave to Abraham's wife Sarah and acts as her personal attendant. Now, obviously, in recent days, slavery has come into the public view. Over here, we've seen some terrible examples of human trafficking, the deaths of 39 people in a lorry being transported as cargo. We've seen the controversy about the public recognition still given to certain individuals who were prominent in times past, but also involved in slavery and in the slave trade. Now, slavery historically has existed in many forms throughout history and all over the world. The darkest form, I suppose, is human trafficking, the treatment of persons, people as commodities, as just freight. Europeans were perpetrators, but we were also the victims. It's recognised that around 1.5 million Europeans were taken by Barbary pirates in the Mediterranean and sold into slavery in North Africa. But obviously we were not the main victims in recent years. And on the other hand, slavery could be more like indentured service. In some cases, people who are very poor could deliberately sell themselves into service of a wealthy family as a way of providing for themselves or clearing a debt. So we don't know how it was for Hagar. We don't know how she was treated. We don't know how she came into the family, although it probably was in Egypt when they were staying down there because of the famine in Canaan. We don't know what kind of relationship they had with Abraham and Sarah and how they treated her. So for the purpose of this video, I'm going to do exactly what the Bible does, which is to take Hagar's status at face value, simply accepting that it was, without in any way condoning or justifying slavery or the trade in slaves. So who are our three characters? Well, first, we have Sarah, Abraham's wife, the queen of his heart, his first love, his only love. And in Genesis 16, verse 1, it says this: Now Sarah, Abraham's wife, had borne him no children, but she had an Egyptian slave named Hagar. So she said to Abraham, The Lord has kept me from having children. Go, sleep with my slave. Perhaps I can build a family through her. Do you ever wonder why on earth some people do some things, take certain decisions? And when we're under pressure, whether it's family pressure, social pressure, financial pressure, health, whatever, we're more prone to making bad decisions. And Sarah's under pressure. She and Abraham are desperate for children. And Sarah feels that she hasn't been able to give them. God has promised that they would have descendants. Abraham is believing God. But Sarah's faith breaks first, and so she comes to Abraham with the suggestion of an alternative. She suggests basically surrogacy. We'll have an egg donor, we'll have a surrogate mum, and she will produce for us a baby that I will raise as my own, and that will be your son and heir. The problem is, artificial insemination isn't going to be available for a few thousand years. So Sarah's suggestion is that they do it naturally. John Quincy Adams said patience and perseverance have a magical effect before which difficulties disappear and obstacles vanish. But unfortunately, Sarah's patience runs out, and so she looks for another way round, and she quite literally thrusts her husband into the arms of another woman. And then there's Abraham, head of the household, the top dog, the king, the chief. He wants a son as much as his wife does. Culturally, he could have taken a second wife already. That route was open to him. But he loves Sarah, and he has been believing God for offspring through her specifically. So obviously, when Sarah comes up with this mad idea, Abraham refuses. "No, dear," he says, "that's a bad idea. Let's not go there. Thence lies a world of hurt." Unfortunately, no, he doesn't. In verse 2, in the second part, Abraham agreed to what Sarah said. So after Abraham had been living in Canaan 10 years, Sarah, his wife, took her Egyptian slave Hagar and gave her to her husband to be his wife. He slept with Hagar and she conceived. Now, I don't know why Abraham agreed. Maybe he was going through a period of doubt himself. Maybe Sarah wore him down with her pressure and need. Maybe Hagar was young and pretty. Sarah was getting a bit stiff and wrinkly, and it was an attractive idea. I don't know. We don't know. But for whatever reason, instead of persevering in his faith and holding on to the promise that God has given, he goes along with Sarah's crazy scheme. Now, let's be clear. It's Abraham's decision. Hagar is probably there because of an earlier bad decision down in Egypt, where Abraham said to Sarah, "Tell everybody you're my sister," because he was afraid, because she was an attractive woman, that some Egyptian would take a fancy to her, kill him, and take her to be his wife. And actually what happened was the Pharaoh took a fancy to her and took her into his harem. And part of the dowry that he gave to Abraham was livestock and also slaves. So it's highly possible that Hagar was one of those gifted to Abraham by Pharaoh. And that turned out to be a bad decision as well. And so does this one. For whatever reason, he agrees and he sleeps with Hagar and she became pregnant. So what of her? Poor Hagar, definitely bottom of the pile, bottom of the pack. I've given her a number 2 of clubs. It's not clear if she had any say in what's been going on, probably didn't. But her response to the outcome is very clear. In verse 4, when she knew she was pregnant, she began to despise her mistress. Then Sarah said to Abraham, "You are responsible for the wrong I'm suffering." Whoa, what? Hang on, whose idea was this? "I put my slave in your arms," she said, "and now she knows that she is pregnant. She despises me. May the Lord judge between you and me." "Your slave is in your hands," Abraham said. "Do with her whatever you think best." Then Sarah ill-treated Hagar, so she fled from her. For Hagar, this is potentially a huge opportunity, a huge step up in life. Her master, the head of the household, the chief, has taken her to be his wife, and she is pregnant with his son, who will be his heir. This is potentially brilliant for her in terms of the culture and her position and her standing. But unfortunately, she doesn't have the patience to wait for her moment to come. It's incredibly sad and hard for Sarah. However badly she's behaved, she's kind of been she's been trumped by this slave girl who's now pregnant by Abraham, Sarah's husband. But instead of waiting patiently and showing sympathy and compassion and understanding to Sarah, she responds with contempt and disdain and begins to belittle her mistress. Proverbs 25 verse 15 says, "Through patience a ruler can be persuaded, and a gentle tongue can break a bone." Unfortunately, Hagar clearly hasn't read Proverbs because it hasn't been written yet. She doesn't understand. The mark of our character is not how we respond when we've been treated well, but how we respond when we've been treated badly. And Hagar responds with disrespect, negatively. Sarah then reacts in anger. Abraham loses patience, I guess, with both of them and abdicates all responsibility and actually behaves appallingly. This young woman, Hagar, whom he has just taken as his second wife, who in all probability whose virginity he has just taken, who is now pregnant with his child, he doesn't even honour her with a name. She is just your slave. There is a total breakdown in all their relationships between Abraham and Sarah, between Sarah and Hagar, between Abraham and Hagar. There is just tension and pain. And Hagar flees the family, carrying with her Abraham's unborn son and heir. At which stage the whole plan has gone about as badly wrong as it possibly could. And it takes a visitation from an angel, we discover later in the chapter, to reassure Hagar and restore her and the unborn Ishmael to the family. Scheming to get what we want when God doesn't seem to deliver is one of the biggest and commonest temptations that Christians face. Scheming to get what we want when God doesn't seem to deliver. And I've fallen into that trap a number of times. It's cost me financially. It's cost me in other ways. And I've seen the ruin that can be brought about by people scheming when we don't have the faith, patience, and perseverance to wait. Arnold H. Glasow said the key to everything is patience. You get a chicken by hatching the egg, not by smashing it. And James in his little letter says, "Consider it pure joy, my brothers and sisters, whenever you face trials of many kinds, because you know that the testing of your faith produces perseverance. Let perseverance finish its work. Let perseverance finish its work, so that you may be mature and complete, not lacking anything." Let's learn the lesson from these three individuals, Abraham, Sarah, and Hagar, none of whom had the patience and perseverance that was needed at this time. And I just pray, Father, help us to be patient, to persevere in our faith, to trust in you, and to wait for your time, knowing that you will do good and you will come good for us at the right time, and that your time is so much better than our impatience. Amen.